You want to give them something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you even tie it even better. Somehow you figure out how to tie it into like the virtual tour. And then you go video, virtual tour. From the virtual tour, you then connect them to your website. But it's got to be a journey.
Yeah. And I think about like the things that we do. Well, actually, do we want to talk about this? Oh, yeah.
But we can just jump into it now.
Okay.
We're talking business right now.
Yeah.
Because we got ahead of ourselves a little bit. But everyone, this is Paul Domenech.
Paul Dominator.
That's right.
You know, my new nickname, Stitch Domenech.
Stitch Domenech.
Oh, you like that?
Stitch
Yeah.
We're gonna get into why the Stitch might be there.
Yeah.
There's also Sweet Beans is another nickname you have.
Yeah. Buckwheat was another one.
Buckwheat.
That was good.
We got a few good ones. Tell us, who is Paul Domenech, the Domenech Group?
Yeah.
He laughs.
Yeah.
I'm glad you laugh. It's a good way to introduce yourself.
Right, there you go.
Yeah.
Like which Paul? You know, there's a few different Pauls.
Who's Paul now? And then we'll get into how you became that Paul.
So you got Paul Domenech, who is the real estate agent, right? And so living in Destin, one of the top agents here, through just consistency and commitment to service. Then you've got Paulie, who is your guy for whatever you need, right? And then you've got Stitch Domenech, which is the guy that decides to do MMA and you know, ride bikes, triathlons, and you know, jujitsu and all that stuff. So
that Stitch sounds fun.
yeah,
Should we start with the Stitch?
Stitch is crazy.
No, we'll get there in a sec. But let's throw it all the way back.
Okay.
Who was Paulie D and where did he come from? Because I just know those three guys today. How did that guy come about? Where were you born, raised? How'd you get down here in Florida?
Yeah, so I was born in the Bronx, Lebanon Hospital. Lived there until I was about 7 years old. And even back then, there was a pretty crazy story. Like, I had my little crew and around my block.
At 7 years old?
At 7 years old, right? At 7 years old. And I would literally
I see your son.
fight everybody on my block. So I was like the king of the block. But there was this one kid across the street that was on a different block, but I could never beat him. Never beat him. He'd always whoop my butt, but I would always try. And there's one good story of me and my little crew climbing on top of a rock in the city and throwing rocks at the Latin Kings. So they
Trying to get-
so we were throwing
get your
at
ass
this
whooped.
gang. Yeah.
Gang.
they
How
ended
old
up
were you?
I was 7 years old.
You're about to get jumped in. For the
Yeah,
wrong
so what they
reasons
did
now.
was they grabbed us. They grabbed us and they threw us all into a dumpster. And then I ran up the block and I told my cousin, and my cousin was pretty much like, "Yeah, don't do that again."
Yeah. That's the thing. When you're a kid, you don't know the repercussions. You're like, a rock, what, I'm being fun. It's like when you're the adult, though, and you look up and some 7-year-old hits you in the head with a rock.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to whoop the
And I'm
shit
sure
out
that
of
they were like 16, 17, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And we were in the block. So it wasn't like, you know, I'm coming from Destin to the Bronx and throwing rocks at Latin Kings. Like that's not going to work out very well. So they just pretty much shoved us in the garbage cans and stuff like that. But
a nice
that was
thing.
that.
Did
So,
you think it was really cool when you were in the garbage? Were you like, this is the coolest? Or were you scared for your life?
I wasn't
What was
scared for
going
my
through your
life. I
mind?
was actually probably fighting back. Like, yeah, I'll kick your ass. Like, let me get your little brother. I'll whoop him. Bring your little brother to fight me.
Isn't
That
it
was
funny?
kinda
That's how we were as kids, just in general. That confidence.
Yeah.
I remember that riding a bike and some dude was talking shit. Was like, "Where you from?" I'm like, "None of your business, man."
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
What's up? And the second they start chasing you, you're like, "Oh, shit."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, we tried to run away and they got us.
Yeah.
They got us. And then after that, I moved upstate to a little town called Highland, which is up the Hudson River across from Poughkeepsie. And that's where I went to high school.
Poughkeepsie.
Right. Yep. Went to high school there. At that point in time, got into raves and snowboarding and Pantera, Sepultura, 9 Inch Nails, grew dreads. You know, I was the little. I was the opposite of what you would think I would be.
We're gonna
in
throw
the
some pictures up
90s.
for the viewers on this.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
have to
yeah.
Text me those.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it was the opposite of what you would think would be like in the 90s, because that was like Boys to Men, Crisscross, all of that. Right here, I am Puerto Rican, and I'm going with like 9 Inch Nails and Sepultura and all of that stuff. And then started doing raves. And then in that time that I was doing raves, I built a nice little organization called The Family, which we had probably about 300 people from all over the Northeast that we would go to raves with. And I was a drug dealer. Yeah. Wow. Right. So what I did
what was your drug of choice?
a ketamine.
Oh, wow. In the 90s?
Special
In the
K.
90s.
Look at
Special
this guy.
K. Yeah,
Okay.
it's crazy.
Were y'all
I know we're
smoking
talking
it?
about
What were you
this
doing
hormone,
with
but
it?
I was just snorting it.
Wow.
We didn't really know what,
Did you think it was cocaine? And did you get
no.
accidentally get caught up in
No, we
ketamine,
knew
or
what
you
it
knew
was. We knew what it
ketamine?
was, right? We knew
You
what it
don't
was.
get high on your own supply. Were you doing that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's what we were doing. So like,
Skimming
so
some
it
off
was
the
like,
top.
I wasn't really a drug dealer. Like,
Drug
I
That
user?
was a loose term.
Yeah,
you
it's
just
loose, right.
you just find a couple of people like, hey, you want some?
right,
$20.
we think like drug dealer in the 90s, like New Jack Hustle,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
Pookie and stuff.
On the
Like
side,
we got
in the
this
corner.
whole, like everybody's at a table and you got this whole organization. No, it's like it was a loose organization. Like everybody that I knew, we would go to different raves and people were from Connecticut or New York, Long Island. So we would go to the raves and then what I would do is I would know the person that I could get the drugs from, ketamine, whatever.
And you were
then
still
I
7
was
at the
selling
time,
it.
right?
Yeah. Right. At this point, I was actually like 18.
Yeah.
So I was selling it to my friends. That's pretty much how that worked out. And so it started out like that. And then in probably when I was, this is now when I'm 18. And so I'm going to these raves. And I was going to a rave in Newburgh that was at a skate park. And my buddies dropped me off at the train station. And the train station up top was closed. So we had to walk around the building. Well, my buddy said, my buddy Dave was like, hey, you want us to give you a ride? And I was with my buddy Justin. And I was like, no, we'll walk. She started walking. And I saw a little day planner briefcase. And I was like, what's that? I look at Justin. He looks at me. We sprint towards it. I get to it first. I open it up, $10,000. Pulled it out, shoved it in my pants, gave him the planner, said, get away from me, do whatever. He took it. He found like a gold watch, $700. We threw it into the Hudson River, got on the train and went to Newburgh. And now, mind you, I'm not like, my family isn't like loaded here,
Yeah.
right? And so
you're like,
I've
I'm
never
rich.
seen any. Yeah,
I made it.
Yeah, absolutely right.
set for
So
life.
I'm like giving like $300 to my buddy who picked us up, and $200 to my other buddy. Like, yeah, here we go. It's all right.
So you learned quick how fast it could go.
Yeah, well, but in the
handing it to people.
'90s, like. In the '90s, $10,000 is like
a lot of money.
$50,000
Yeah,
nowadays,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And so that's when I started to like, okay, now I could buy more and supply more of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was doing that, I got caught up and got into the Grateful Dead circle where I was buying weed from one guy, giving it to this other guy for like ecstasy, and then taking that ecstasy, giving it to this other guy who at the time, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but was selling crystal meth. But the crystal meth back then wasn't nobody knew to smoke it. You sniffed it and you break dance. That's what you did, right? And so the guy that was selling the weed brought me to Key West. We went from New York all the way to New Orleans to Key West. We sold a bunch of AK-47. It was crazy, right? I'm on this trip with the Grateful Dead, like following the Grateful Dead with this whole thing.
You were a deadhead.
Yeah, I was a deadhead.
Did you ever
Pretty
run
much.
Did you ever run into Tucker Carlson?
Was he a deadhead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy is you see him now. He's like this nerdy guy.
Yeah.
But then his past, he's like, no, I used to do mushrooms and all type of shit. And I would be at every Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
I was a deadhead.
It's awesome. I mean, the community. And so like growing up, wasn't very much. That's why I call my group the family. We didn't really, I grew up with my friends as my family, right? I love my family now. It's phenomenal. But there was that missing connection. And so when I found the Grateful Dead, like I was in it. Here we go. We make this trip. This guy gets caught with 30 pounds of weed. He comes to me. He wants me to help him get some ecstasy for this biker friend. I said, no, I don't have that, but I could get you some crystal meth. So they set it up. I end up selling 3 ounces of crystal meth to an undercover cop, and I go to prison and get a 3 to life sentence.
3 to life. That's a big gap.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's like based on good behavior and all
3
that.
to life.
Well-
Explain what 3 to life is. 'Cause
Yeah.
you're 18 years old. That's like
exactly,
a 70, 80
It wouldn't have been
years.
so bad if they were just like, "Hey, can I get weed?" And instead of saying yes, he goes, "Weed? I got crystal meth."
Crystal meth. All right, like I'm just thinking, like,
Yeah,
how
they're
can
like
I
6
supply
months in
supply all my
So wait,
friends with
your
all this
friend
going
ended up
on?
being an undercover cop?
No, so what he ended up getting busted with 30 pounds of weed.
Right.
And so then he ended up being a narc.
They set him up
He
to
set
get
him
you.
up to get me, to get him out.
Oh, man.
We'll give you a better
Yeah, I
deal
know,
if you can
right?
give us somebody with more
Do you-
shit.
Well,
did you
here's
have to
the
work
crazy
through,
part
Did you
of
have to
it
work
all.
through all that? Like the backstabbing thing? Or did you
No,
understand?
no.
Were you like, all right, fair? Or were you like, fuck you?
Well, here's the thing. Like, the relationship was such a short relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It was only like, I'd only known him for a year, but we did so much together. Right. And so that's kind of like, it's part of my story of like how I am and who I am. And I
Yeah.
love like my loyalty and my love, like hardcore. When I love you, I love you. When I don't know you, like, get to know me, because I love everybody pretty much. I want to be the protector. That's the whole another part of the story. But at the end of the day, when it happened, I was confused because I was still young.
It would hurt.
Like, how could we? Yeah, it hurt. More
But you were
hurt.
my friend.
Yeah.
You know?
I was hurt.
Mhm.
Listen, back in the day, I was a little sissy. To cry a little bit. I was definitely the person that would get his feelings hurt. I still do. I was actually watching a movie, Wild Robot, with my son, and I started crying at the end.
Oh,
Hey,
you sensitive.
Some of the most powerful people in the world are sensitive.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, Mark Cuban, Donald Trump, all these billionaires, they talk shit about other people that say nasty things about them because they're all about loyalty. And if you turn on me, it's a sign of success, if anything, that you can harness that in to use it, you know?
Yeah, so I'm a sensitive guy, so it hurt my feelings,
Yeah.
really more so. But I also didn't understand the magnitude of it because what the hell, I was just telling to my friends. So it was crazy when it all went down. Like, I had actually taken 3 grams of crystal meth,
You were on it. Like
and
you
I
had
put it into 3 ounces of this cut that wasn't crystal meth.
Is it Coke or what?
No, it was this like stuff you could buy in the head shops back in New York City when they had all the,
What was it?
like titty
Spice
shops
and
and
all
all,
their
that
crazy
stuff
shit.
down. Like when right before Giuliani came in and cleared all that up, you used to be able to go to those little
Yeah.
titty shops or
Smoke
whatever,
shops.
right? So it was a smoke shop, and it was some sort of like
Synthetic,
synthetic-
like weed type thing. Was it
yeah,
spice?
but no, but it was
Flocka,
something. It was
those
something that,
random
and
stuff.
it wouldn't get you high. But if you stuck it with something, like, okay, it's still burned and all that stuff. But they weren't sniffing it, so even though they tested it, like, they acted like they were testing it and everything. They're like, it's good, and I was like, well, great. What the hell do I know? I don't care. Like, we're all good, right? And I never took that $10,000, by the way, and like turned it into an empire. I was too giving, right? Like, so at the end of the day, it eventually ran out, right? Because our friends were having a good time, but it did last me for a while, and I was just leveraging it.
Did you ever find out where the $10,000 came from? Like,
No.
well, it was just there.
Yeah, no.
You just happened to open a briefcase and it
Yeah.
had money and
It
watches.
sounds like it was almost like there was
was-
another illegal thing going on where someone's like, I'm going to leave the
Correct.
briefcase by the bench and I'll walk away by the third
You just
stop.
I don't
happened-
think
and you just
so. I
happened to
think
step
that the guy
between.
dropped it.
How do you just drop that?
I don't know.
When you
but-
say,
or
like, how
maybe he
big are
got
we
snatched.
talking?
We're talking like a day planner.
because he stuck it in his.
I imagine like a briefcase.
It was like no. It was like a day
Like an
planner,
iPad, like the size of an iPad.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Back before like iPads and all that existed, you would open it up and there would be a calendar in there, and you could stuff
Your
and
address books.
Yeah, your
Yeah,
address
yeah,
books.
yeah.
Exactly what it was, right? And so when I
Gotta
opened up the
explain it to the
side, I was like,
youngins.
oh yeah, got it right. And so I ended up, getting caught, and when I got caught, I had never had any violent crimes or anything like that. And I got caught in my hometown. And so the judge knew my neighbors. So the judge was like, Paul, like, what are you doing here? This is actually something serious, because they tagged me with a class A2 felony.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
Okay,
that's like
explain that for people who don't know what
so-
an A2 felony is.
A1 is murder.
And a steak sauce.
Okay. Yeah. And a steak sauce. It's a terrible steak sauce.
It is.
And then A2 is like a manslaughter.
Mhm.
So
they almost thought like intent to hurt someone type vibe.
correct. So like you hurt somebody, whether you intended to or not, nobody got hurt but could have gotten hurt. So we're going to charge you with this. The problem is that they didn't have any laws at the time for crystal meth. So they didn't really know how to charge it. So they charged me like it was 3 ounces of cocaine. That's kind of how they classified it. But then like 4 years later, it's like, you have any crystal meth on you, you're going to jail for life. So it turned into something huge because then people were using it for different reasons. We were just like after party, sniff it and break dance. Right?
Did you tell them it wasn't 3 ounces? Were you like, actually, it's not.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
actually only a teaspoon.
And they were like, we don't care. Like,
Yeah.
well, if it's got a little bit in it, it's all it.
Yeah.
So I got caught out there in that whole scenario, right? And then they were like, well, it's 15 to life. That was the first one. And I was like, my family didn't have any money, right? So we hired a lawyer from the city for like $1,000. And I look back on it, I'm like, $1,000? Nothing. The guy just barely kicked me.
Let me take it out of my day.
No wonder I went to prison.
Yeah, no doubt. Because I mean, like, it was ridiculous. Let's just put it that way. So at the end of the day, they were like, well, 3 to life and or you can do, 15 to life, or you could do 3 to life and we'll stick you in boot camp because you don't have any violent crimes.
What kind of boot camp?
So boot camp would be like a military prison boot camp. So
okay.
For 6 months. But I had to wait for 8 months in prison to get to this. And I was in a max prison. So it wasn't like
juvenile
daycare. Right. No, definitely not. Like they put me in like the life section and it was crazy. Yeah, there was one guy that had like a 3 to life sentence for a homicide. And then there was a couple other guys that were like 25 to life for a vehicular homicide, like from being drunk driving and stuff like that. And so I was in that cell block. But the guy that had the 3, I don't know his name, but the guy that had the three homicide and that sentence, he was a Latin king and he liked me.
He put you in the trash can.
So no, he didn't.
He's like, I know you.
I remember you. Oh, you were the kid that tried to
He saw you skip a rock out in the yard one day. He goes,
I remember that.
I know that girly throw.
I know that throw.
Cry for me. I knew it was you.
Cry for me. I said, cry for me, homie. What's up?
What's up, right? So he kind of looked out for me because he was also on appeal. And so once we were talking, so he wasn't really talking to nobody. We just started talking because he was kind of in the cell next to me. And then he kind of protected me, I guess you would say, because nobody messed with me. And normally when you got that kind of sentence, like a 3 to life, and you're around a bunch of lifers, like they don't want you out because they're going to stay there. So they want you to be miserable with them. So I feel like God had sent an angel at that point in time to protect me with that. But he did definitely put me through it for a reason. Right? Like I had to overcome a lot because of that, but it did not stop me, which truly forged me. Right? So I say that when you're put through the fire, you have 2 choices. You can either get burned and turn into ashes, or it can forge you. And I chose for it to forge me, and that was to prove everybody that no matter what I've been through, I'm worth it, right? And so that did help me. You know, people's opinions of you do matter, but it depends on how you use it. Mm-hmm. It can be negative and it can be the best thing ever, right? It doesn't always have to be positive. And sometimes positive is not the best thing because people are just fluffing you up to believe some hype that you are and you're not. Yeah. So,
did people come visit you?
Yeah, all my friends came and visited me. Like at the time, they were like, "What the hell?" One of my buddies started crying, like actually, and he was like, "I can't believe this. You're like behind bars for life. This doesn't make any sense, right?"
Did it help to have them visit, or was it hard to have people from the outside?
Yeah, it was. Once I knew that I had that 3 to life thing, it was a little bit easier because I knew that I could get out. But prior to that, it was kind of, it was sobering. I didn't realize it even when, we were in the cell when I first got caught, and they tell you what you're convicted of or what you're charged with. And everybody's like, doing the jail talk, like, what are you in here for? What are you in here for, right? And then he's like, I fucking beat this guy up. I got an assault charge or whatever. And it gets to me, and they're like, what are you in here for? And I was like, I don't know. I sold a bunch of drugs. And they're like, really? And I was like, yeah, I got an A2 felony. And they were like, damn.
Yeah.
They were like, yo, damn. And you're that cool, bro? And I was like, yeah, what does that mean? And they were like,
You're fucked.
yeah, that's not good. And I was like, oh shit. So reality started to kind of set in there. Yeah. And so then, carried on. I ended up getting out. And then once I got out, did whatever I had to do. And then I moved to Key West.
When you say you did whatever you had to do, what does that mean?
So I went to the boot camp and did the 6 months of waking up in the morning routine, PT, and then you're in a minimum security, so there's no real fences around you, and then you go and do like work orders and stuff like that, and they just counseling and rehabilitation kind of stuff.
Is everybody in there? They're all there to have the intent to get out, so no one's trying to sabotage, right? Or do you have people that are trying to keep you in?
No, it's like a boot camp. The drill instructors, I guess, style. Would be trying to break you. Mm-hmm. Right? How tough are you? Oh, you think you're a tough guy, huh? You think you're a tough guy? Like, go ahead,
they're testing you, do something to get sent out.
They're testing you to fail out.
Did you get broken at all?
Yeah.
What happened? Tell us about it. Tell us.
I was too much of a. This is crazy. So it was 6 months, but it got extended, and they liked me. Yeah, I know. I was such a knucklehead. They extended it, and I ended up doing 8 months because I was just a knucklehead. Like, I was like wanting to be funny and like, friends and making jokes. You're not supposed to talk. You're not supposed to talk where you're not supposed to talk. You're not supposed to, right? And I would be the one like, I just itching and I have to talk, right? Like, so there's many a times where they would put me on this rock pile where, and you know what I'm talking about if you've been in that boot camp, they make you move rocks all day long from one side to the other, to the other, all day long. And I still, to this day, like, I still have some of the habits that they have. Like, you get 3 minutes in the shower. Like, I could shower so fast. Like, I don't know why people spend time in the bathroom for so long. Like, I don't know, bro. Like, I mean, leave some skin on it or whatever. Like for real. Like, you're in the
feet, balls, armpits. That's all you got to wash.
Yeah, and also even when you're going to the bathroom on the toilet. Oh, yeah. Like, how long are you sitting on the toilet? What are you, like, reading a magazine?
It depends if you're scrolling or not.
I won't see him for days.
Yeah.
That's where you get all your reels from me, is when I'm on the toilet.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Just ask him, be like, are you taking a poop?
I'll come out and she'll be like, you just sent me 20 reels. How's the toilet? It's good. I was done 25 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I'm like,
now my legs are asleep.
Just wanted silence.
Like, you give yourself hemorrhoids. Get out of there.
I'm not pushing the whole time.
Yeah, you are, though. That pressure of your butthole just open while you're sitting on the toilet.
I don't have a butthole like this. Wide open all the time. He's been to prison.
We have so many...
I can hold you down right now. You do realize we haven't gotten to the part about me being a black belt
married,
in jiu-jitsu. Yeah, and that's why it would be okay.
That's right.
So, you know what?
Seriously,
we wouldn't call him gay because he's married.
That's right.
To whiteface.
Yeah, to whiteface.
For those of you that missed, my makeup exploded.
Too much makeup, but we're good. We enjoy it. We like it.
Yeah.
Going back though, you said that it forged you. You learned some things like the shower. Do you think that it led you to be more of this disciplined lifestyle guy?
Yeah, certainly, 100%.
What other parts?
Right before, I went in, I was at a point in my life where I didn't know what I was going to do, right? And so I had graduated from culinary arts in Votech at the top of my class before I graduated. That was another thing. Like, I got kicked out of school, but then they still let me finish by just testing out and then doing this culinary vocational, because I was just so good at it. And they were looking at me going like, he's not a bad kid, but he just doesn't know how to we just don't know how to funnel his energy. And I really, Miss Labriola, she was the one. She and Mr. Rua was our principal, but Miss Labriola is the one that really saved me in that scenario, because it was definitely like, kick him out, he's done. And she was like, no, let's let him test out and let him still do this and then find his way. And I still found my way to prison.
And the principal was like, I told you.
Yo, my best friend's mother, when we went to his wedding, said, wow, Paul. And this is when I was doing MMA and I was pretty successful in that. She says, you know what, Paul, we always knew you were either going to be successful or dead. It's one or the other. Or in prison.
And you tiptoed the line the whole time.
Or in prison. Or in prison. That's
I've done all three, baby.
Well, I've done the prison thing.
And we'll talk about stitches. I think you've done all three now.
Right, exactly.
All right, so you went to Key West.
Wait, hold on. No, wait. I got questions about the prison stuff too. Not just. I'm just. No, I'm so
we could have a whole
curious.
conversation on just prison.
I know. There's a couple questions I have to ask.
Rehabilitation stuff.
Yeah, I want to know too. Like two things. When they actually convicted you, when you're standing in the courtroom and they say you're going to prison. What is that for people who've never experienced that? Walk us through what that felt
being
like.
In someone else's hands.
Yeah, that's question one, and then I have a second question.
Yeah, well,
and then you can go into Key West.
Well, with that scenario, you don't really. In my life at that point in time, I had no structure. We were going to raves, we were partying, we were doing drugs. I was really burnt out. Really, at that point in time. I mean, ketamine is like a synthetic heroin, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. You don't get addicted to it, but if that's your drug of choice, you're just constantly sedated. So it was just a point where, honestly, I was like, well, if this is what I've got to do, this is where I've got to go. Like, all right, like, here we go. Like, shit. Because
you're okay with it.
Yeah, in essence, right? Because I wasn't living with my parents. That wasn't an option. I was kind of semi-homeless, like just floating from here to there. Like I said, when I found that $10,000, I was still partying. I was a kid. I was loving it. I was like, whatever. There was no form of stability or like, hey, you found $10,000 as an adult. What are you going to do with that money right now? It was like, no, we're going to go party hard. We're going to have a really good time. Like, let's go. Because I never had anything. And so now I have something. So it was coming towards the end of that and I was just kind of lost. And so by the grace of God, I believe by the grace of God, the way that he made this happen was in a way that, you know what, I feel that God will allow you to go only so far as his child before he just decides that's it and he smacks you so damn hard you either die or you get better. And so this was that moment where nothing was going to save me but God's hand in this part of my life.
And you had to surrender.
And I had to surrender.
There was nothing you
There's
could
no
do.
choice. There's nothing that I could do.
Literally surrender.
So then you go into prison. For people who have never spent a minute in a prison, walk us through 8 months. What is that like? What happens to your mentality? You know, do you have moments of breaking? Do you have to stay strong every single day? Are you defending your life? Is the food garbage? Like, walk us through what it's like in prison.
It's like
boys hanging out.
Yeah, it's like a camp. I guess you could say, right? Like, really, it is. It's like camp. There's order. You know, it's every day. There's a schedule. You know, I didn't have children. I had friends. Right? Like I had mom and mom was torn up, obviously. Right. But there wasn't anything outside there for me, if you will. And there were necessarily no dreams because I was just every day going to parties and raves and living my life. So there wasn't this sense of guilt like I was leaving a life behind. Now, mind you, freedom, which I appreciate a lot now, is one thing. You do feel like, golly, I can't even step off this bus as you're driving by and you're looking at people in the cars. But it's so surreal because when you get into it, you're institutionalized. And then when you get out, it's the wildest thing because you're like,
what do I do?
I could go anywhere.
Yeah.
I could do anything.
Is it too much freedom at that point where you almost need to hone it in, or did you go wild when you got out?
No, I didn't go wild at all.
It's overwhelming,
like,
I'm sure, right?
I was like, it's done. Like, that's done. I've got a new life ahead of me. I'm clear-headed. I was reading a lot. I'm not going backwards. Time to move forward in whatever it is that I'm going to do. And I'm going to figure that out. And so I always had my brother that was living in Key West, bartending, and I always was like, oh, my brother's rich, right? But really, like, he's a bartender, right? Yeah. So we always had, like, cash on hand, and I was like, oh, my God, he's so rich.
You're like, did I ever tell you once I had $10,000?
I know, right? So it's like, money in the shoebox, right? Yeah. And so I'm like, I want to go to Key West. This is what I'm going to do. I knew that I was good at. I was really good at sales. Honestly, I was really good at telling the story. I won all of the sales competitions when it came down to candy bar selling or collecting pennies. I won all of that stuff, right? Just with my personality. And so then, so when I got out, it was definitely I'm not going back.
And how'd you go from 8 months to 3 years to 8 months to 6 months? You only did 14. You did 14.
Well, we
months.
did 14. So like what ended up happening was like 8 months was like, I actually ended up doing the 8 months in a month and a half extra in boot camp. And so it was like really 6.5 months, I guess you could say, in a facility. From the time that I got arrested, they took time off of that in jail, then into prison for like 3 months, which is called downstate, where they transfer you to wherever you're going. It would have been a shorter sentence.
What'd you do?
But I got an extra, you know.
You sell some candy bars?
No, right. Yeah, I smuggled candy bars in.
He was being the goofball of the class.
Yeah, goofball in the class. And then I got the extra 90 days or the extra month and a half or whatever added to that. So like, you know, it was, but that was a crazy moment because it was definitely, again, by the grace of God, I think he had a hand in that. Like, okay, here you are at the very end and you're still being a little bit of a knucklehead. You're not ready to get out.
Yeah.
We're going to snatch you up. And then I did go to Mariah, which is an 100% max prison. Like you're behind the walls and they put me in a cot and they're like, we're going to decide what we want to do with you. And so for that 2 weeks, that was like reality. Like this is my life right now. Like
no
I got life. And it was in a like a dormitory, right? It was in a dormitory. But they were like, yeah, at that point in time, I was like, oh my God, I got to stop. I got to tighten up. And then they said, okay, we're going to put you over here. And then they sent me way up north to a boot camp up there. And then I finished out there. And then.
What was the moment you think that actually broke you? Was it Mariah? Where you were like,
yeah,
okay.
Mariah was definitely like, okay, this is how people are living. Like, this is it. Like, this could be the end of the road. And do I want to be here? Like, at that point in time, it was the good part about it is I had already done like 9,656 push-ups. So I was actually kind of built when I went to Mariah. So I wasn't like a little weakling like I was when I went in. So I was like, that was my saving grace. Was I was like, okay, now I feel like a man, sort of, right, as a child. And then I knew like, okay, I got to defend. Now it's like, yeah, this is pretty much like I got to defend myself if something's going down here because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 guards to like 200 people in this dorm. If somebody wants to take your stuff, they're taking your stuff or you're going to fight. And if you don't fight, then they're going to continue to take your stuff. So that was that moment of like, I got to get the hell out of here as fast as I can because this isn't where I belong either.
Right.
I didn't have that thug mentality. It was not in me like that. Just wasn't in me like that. So
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That was the breaking point. Then you went to Key West.
and then I got out and then
Yeah, you go down to see your brother, the bartender.
So it's a pretty funny story. My sister tells the story. So
Is this another character? Is this you as your sister now?
No, right? No.
My sister.
So I get out.
Sister.
So I get out and like my mom is somewhere else. My dad's over here. So my sister, BB, she like saved me. I stayed with her in a 400 square foot apartment that was a 2-bedroom, 1 bath in Poughkeepsie. And it was her and her best friend Puddin and Bianca and Michelle, which is Puddin's sisters, in the other room. And then it was me. So we have 5 people staying in this place.
How is 2 bedrooms
It's a
and
mansion.
400 square feet?
New York City.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a mansion.
Yeah, it was only
You were living
45,000.
large.
Which is crazy, right? And so this was my situation, right? And my sister took me in, and her best friend was like, "Yeah, let's roll." So I slept on the couch for probably like 3 months, And I got a job from my ex-girlfriend Stephanie's mom to dig pools with this guy named Jack. So that was my job, was digging pools. So I get out in February. I get my situation going. March comes up, pools start opening. So I'm working for this guy, Jack. I'm working like $8 an hour or something like that back then, right? Like, well, you know what? I'm a felon. Yeah. So you can't get no jobs. Like, yeah, I'm glad to get a job, right? And so I'm digging, I'm doing these pools. So then we get into digging pools inside the summer. So we're digging pools and I'm using my clothes that I got when I came out of prison, because they give you a pair of jeans, they give you a shirt, and they let you take your shoes. Like these boots, like the sole's like that thin, right? Mm. And so as the summer goes on, it starts getting hot. And so I cut the pants to my knees. It gets hotter. I cut the pants to my thighs. It gets hotter.
How high are we going?
It gets hotter.
Did you have a jean thong at the end?
One day, my sister looks at me. I wake up, I put my pants on. She looks at me. She goes, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm like, "I got to go to work." She goes, "Paul, I can see your pockets." And I had her to fucking Daisy Dukes. And I was like, "I don't care. It's so hot." Because when you dig these pools, you dig the hole, then you dig like a ledge, and then you dig a bigger hole in the center. And then you put up these tin walls that get backfilled with cement, and then you've got to work in the pool with the tin walls up to carve away.
God.
So you're just baking.
You're a solar panel.
Yeah, this is such for real. It's like one of those like things, like, you know,
yeah.
You're just yes.
Were you at a crop top too?
Yeah,
had you cut your t-shirt to just a crop top at Daisy Dukes?
So
Polly Daisy Dukes.
I was like, it's too hot. It's too hot. So like, and then the owner of the pool company came around. He was like, "Oh my God." He's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like,
"Nothing.
It's too hot." And he was like, "Absolutely not." And I'm like, "I'm getting paid $300 a week here. I'm trying to freaking save for this car." So he's
like, "Save for some pants."
Yeah. So he was like, "Listen, here's like $50. Go buy some pants, please." Yeah. So that kind of happened in the middle while I was waiting to go to Key West. And then, but I was willing to do whatever. I showed up every day. Listen, I showed up every day. I didn't mess around. I had a guy I forgot his name, but I had a guy, the big black guy with dreads. He was my crew guy, and we were just rolling it out. And I was out there in Daisy Dukes. I'm sure people were thinking like, that's an interesting combo.
He was in prison, right?
So, yeah, that's an interesting combo,
makes
right?
Sense.
Makes sense, right? And so, I got the okay to go to Key West and transfer because I was on life parole, right? And so life parole, it's 3 years of no incidences, and then you can apply to get off. And so I moved to Key West with my brother, and then that's where that started, and that's where Junior was another one of my nicknames. Gave to me by Pat Brady, Brian Sawyer, and my brother. They call me Junior.
Nice.
Junior.
Were people trying to get you in trouble at
No.
all? See, everyone was like, everyone was supportive.
Yes.
Something bad happened. Like, Paul, get out of here.
Yeah. So my brother was definitely the one of the top guys down there. Everybody knew him, and so was his best friends. And they were like, "Yeah, don't mess with Paul. Leave him alone.
Good.
Stay out of it." And they all kind of protected me. It was crazy. It was the Wild Wild West back then. And people were doing everything around me, but everybody knew, like, but Paul can't, and we're not messing with Paul. And then I kind of had my Key West family down there that really helped me.
How old were you when you moved to Key West?
So I remember it was 1999, because I was there for 2000. And so I must have been 21, 22.
Okay. And so what'd you do in Key West?
Bartend.
Who's Junior?
Junior.
Yeah. How did Junior find the cage and the mats?
Yeah. So Junior was, so I got a job bar backing at the Conch Farm. Conch Republic is still run by all these people down there.
That's cool.
Mickey and Jeff still owns it. Scott and Pat Brady and John Neal and all these people were there. And so I was bartending, and everybody would ask, who is that? Who is that? And Pat Brady, who worked there, was my brother's best friend. So Pat Brady would say, "Oh, that's Junior." And then they would be like, "Junior?" Like, "Yeah, Dennis's little brother, Junior." Because my brother has a different last name. And so then that spawned Junior. So then they just started calling me, everybody calls me Junior. So when I go to Key West it's funny because there's some people that came after the era that knows me, but the people that really know me, they all call me Junior.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so so I got a bar down there with my brother. And that's a whole nother podcast, but got a bar down there with my brother. And then it was funny because when my brother left, what had happened was we had the bar, the building got sold. It was Jerky's. It was called Jerky's. My name is still actually in Key West. If you go behind the Bull and Whistle and you look on the cement, the bar right now is called the General. But if you look on the cement right behind the Bull and Whistle, you'll see my name, Paulie.
Is that on Duval
2001.
Street?
It's off right on. Yeah. Yep. It's a
So
Bull and
anybody
Whistle's on
going
Duval
to
Street.
Key West, when you see Paulie's picture, or his name, take a picture with
take
it.
pictures,
Tag
yeah,
him.
absolutely. Yeah.
Start a whole new
That's
trend.
where the whole thing started, right? So it was
Yeah.
crazy. Those are great times.
Yeah.
And so, but my brother was down there, and my brother was pretty much the guy everybody knew. But he said the day that he realized that he had to leave was the day that somebody was like, "Oh, you're Paul's brother."
Oh, gosh.
Because the whole
Switch.
His identity.
happened. Yeah, the whole switch happened. And that happened because I started my MMA career down there. So I started doing MMA fights down there. I just decided, there was something called Bubba Boxing, which was a Bubba is somebody that lives in Key West full time and was born there. And they also call them conks. But they did something called Bubba Boxing, and I came up with the concept to fight bartenders versus bartenders, and then the Bubbas could fight. And I took it from something that was a 200-person event to a 1,500-person event. And so then the thing is that I wasn't a Bubba, though. So when I got it to 1,500 people, they were like, "We don't need you anymore."
Oh.
So again, heartbreak, right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Did you cry then?
Like, I
Yeah.
got you here.
heartbreak again.
Yeah.
Right? So they kicked me out. So I was with this guy named Dino, and he was like, "Hey, there's this MMA thing going on." And I was like, "What's this?" And so we saw a couple underground fights. I applied for the license and was the first promoter in the state of Florida
Cool.
legally in MMA
Cool.
with a guy
That's dope.
named Dan Lambert, who is
Heard of that name?
American Top Team.
The biggest,
Yep.
you know.
And then
team
that's where I
in
met
the country.
Laborio and John Hartnett and a bunch of those guys. That's when Tiago was there, knew all that. Mike Brown, he's my homie. Like
Yep.
Dean Thomas.
And now they're all
those
they all went
guys.
from fighters. Now they're all the head coaches for
Yeah,
each
the head
of them.
coaches. Yep, exactly. So they're awesome. Jessica Aguilar, like all of them. Those are all my people from back in the day because I was the first one to start doing MMA. My first card had Luigi Fioravanti on it, Cole Miller on it. Those are some of Tom Lawler, Ariel Gondula.
Cole Miller, top
yeah,
5.
Yeah. Cole Miller,
Gambarian,
man.
Diaz,
Yeah.
Susan.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep. So I had all those guys, but the crazy part about it was I did the first legally promoted MMA show in the state in Key West,
Oh, cool.
which is like nobody there. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
saved all my money and lost it.
Oh,
Yeah, saved all my money.
We're
and
gonna
lost
sell it out to these cruise ship
But,
people.
there were no cruise ships back then. There were no cruise ships.
So it was
back
just
then.
roosters
But
and
it was
locals.
just- yeah, pretty much, right? But there was. I got to give props to like Ross Kellen and another gentleman named Jamie Levine. They were doing MMA in the state of Florida, like way before me. And Chris Cordero. They were doing it way before me, but it wasn't legal at that
Right.
time. But they had like, we're talking about Rich Franklin, like Matt Hughes. They had those guys fighting for them. So I kind of came in
And all the Militich
when
guys.
it was, I came in when it was legal, but they were doing it way before me. But I never met them before until I started doing it. And then there was a little bit of a riff. Like my boy Ross Kellen, it's my guy, man. That's my dude. But in the beginning, he's like, "Who the hell is this new guy?"
Yeah,
Right?
of
He would
course.
give me so much shit.
Yeah.
But that's why. But then I started doing jujitsu. And then I won my world championship in 2013, 2015. And then that's when the respect came like, okay, he's not just trying to jump in here and be a promoter. He's actually like really
He understands the
wants to
sport.
do this,
Yeah.
right? And I had a passion for it. And so that was my gateway out of Key West was doing the MMA stuff. And then I moved to Winter Haven with my buddy James Bennett. and we started a little thing there. And then I wanted to train with a guy named Danny Ruiz here, who was underneath De La Hiva, directly underneath De La Hiva and Destin. And so then because I could live anywhere, I kind of moved to Destin. And
when did you move here?
I think I probably moved here. That might have been 2011.
And you moved here for jiu-jitsu primarily?
Primarily
Cool.
for jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
I didn't even know this
was mom
place
here?
existed. No, what?
Was your mom here before you brought her here?
I was here.
She was in New York.
My mom just came here 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's 2024. She came in 2022.
So you're in Destin doing jiu-jitsu. Was there a big market out here for it, or did you have to kind of start that?
still
as
isn't.
No,
Yeah,
so
that's
I
what I was-
knew Ross Kellen, the guy that I was talking about,
Yeah.
was manager of my guy Danny Ruiz, who I wanted to actually train with.
Like mentor you, kind of?
Yeah, and I wanted him to be my professor. And so him and Ross, and it was funny because I would get him to fight all the time. And I was very close with Danny, but he would still be like, yeah, you got to talk to Ross, my manager. And I'm like, fucking Ross doesn't like me. Fuck, Ross doesn't.
Yeah.
And Ross is a big dude. Ross is like, he's amazing. He's really brought up a lot of fighters. He's a black belt himself. I mean, that dude's like, I don't know, Ross, I'm sorry to age you like this, but he's like a 53-degree black belt or something like that, right? But he's my homie. And his daughter is phenom in wrestling. But so I would always have to, even though I was training with Danny and with him as his main sparring partner, also, and a lot of stuff, he would still have me go through Ross to book him his
Just
fights.
to be a dick.
Yeah, no, not to be a dick, but that's
Just-
he's like that's how the order is, right?
Yeah.
That's how the order is, right?
Gotta do it right.
Yeah.
And so then I came here and trained with him, and then in 2013, because MMA was my world, I was able to train all the time, and then I set up fights all over the world. I was the matchmaker I helped in season 2 with Bellator, and Sam Kaplan, who was the Bellator matchmaker, used to call me Mr. Wolf because I would do shows all over the states, but little shows. So I would know who the directors were. So whenever a big show would come into the States, sometimes they'd be like, no, you know what? You're the big guys. You think we're the little guys, and they try to flex. But I would be able to come in the back end because I knew them from doing smaller shows and talk to the directors and be like, hey, listen, this is really a good fight.
Yeah.
And I would also put my license on the line. I'd say, listen, if this isn't a good fight, you can like take my license. And so I would help a lot of shows like that.
Still to this day, you're doing shit like that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, in everything that I do, right? Like I 100% hold myself responsible to the outcome. If I'm going to get involved in it, I believe that holding yourself responsible to the outcome is the only way that you really truly find success, because you're invested in it no matter what. Right.
So you went from MMA. How did you transition into real estate? Is there something in between, or was it just
No. There's a
MMA, real
transition.
estate? Okay,
right?
tell us
there's
about
a transition. So we went to the doing the jiu-jitsu MMA stuff. Won a world championship in 2013. Won double gold in Pan Am's as a 2013 was a purple belt. Pan Am's was as a brown belt.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah. So
I'm so ignorant.
Yeah,
So
Pan-
my weight class.
Pan Americans is a huge.
I'm
So
like, you were
my
in a
weight class was
plane, or-
196, and then I won it as absolute as well. So I won double gold in Pan Am's. And then I had a student that was buying a house, and I referred him to somebody, and then the student stopped coming. And when I asked what had happened, why did you stop coming, he said, well, I bought a home. And I said, well, that's a good thing, isn't it? And he was like, well, kind of. I just spending all my money now because I overbought, which is house poor. You know, it's like, I'll eat ramen noodles just to have the Range Rover.
Yes.
Like, yeah. And then you get the Range Rover, and then you're like, oh my God, ramen noodles. What are you doing? And then
It
you
sounds
get
like a
into-
personal story.
Right.
With
Yeah,
Range
something
Rover.
Like that. Range Rover. Yeah. Range Rover. Right. And so, so at that point in time, I turned to that person and was like, what happened? And he literally said to me, well, I'm not his father. You know, he made the decision himself. He's a 20-year-old airman. And I went, dude, are you kidding me? And here I am. I'm now at this point in time, I'm about 36, 37, right? I'm still doing the MMA thing, 36, 37. And I looked at him and said, no, he's a child, because I remember where I was. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get my real estate license, and
take care
I don't
of
ever
people.
want you to come into my gym, and I'm going to take care of all the guys in my gym. And so I thought that, like, it was going to be a 3 transactions every 4 months, an extra $10,000 here and there, every 3 months, which was a lot. I was like, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then first 6 months, 3 houses. And then my first year I did 42. My second year I did 76. My third year I did 82. Then it went to 82, 107, 102, 136, back down to 112. And then last year we
Okay,
ended up
explain this.
finishing it at like 83
Well, first-
Explain this to
transactions
people.
a year.
First of all, I just want to say we have friends that are realtors who we don't even know if they're selling anything half the time. So when you say numbers like that, it's just like, it's insane.
What does an average real estate agent sell in a year? What's an
I
average?
think the average is combined. The average, I think, is really like 6.
6
But
houses a year, right?
But remember, there are but 20% of the agents do all of those transactions. That averages it down.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of those 20%, the other 20% are really doing it.
So you sold 42 your first year,
I mean, yeah, first full year.
and most people sell 6.
Yeah.
If that just gives people listening an idea of the monster that you are.
And it didn't. And I tried to join a team. I tried to join a team, and they were like, "No, you seem like an independent agent." 'Cause
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you so
you.
much. Again, another moment,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And there's a story behind that, mind you. I didn't get my license for 18 months because they denied me because I was a felon.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What am I going to break into these houses I'm selling?
Yeah, they're gonna break. Yeah, listen, this is the thing. I turned to them and said, "What?" I passed the test. I applied. They were like, "Nope, you're a felon." And I was like, "What?
So?
What do I got to do to get all of this stuff done?" And they were like, "Well, we need this, and this." And trying to get that stuff from New York after it's
gosh.
been 20 years already,
Yeah.
it was terrible. But we ended up getting it all. And I was standing there, and I was like, I don't understand this. You guys, I'm already licensed with the DBPR. I'm already licensed by the state to fight humans. I'm a matchmaker. I literally fight humans. I helped write the amateur mixed martial arts rules for the state of Florida. This is what I've done. And you're denying me my license, right?
That's okay, but this is not.
Yeah. Oh, no, you
Explain.
can fight, hillbillies or whatever that is. That's okay, but you can't sell people houses. What in the world is going on here?
Yeah.
So
You might have fights in those houses.
yeah,
We don't know.
what's funny though, when they came up, they were just looking at it on paper, right? And then when it came up and I went to the board, they looked at it, and I had a letter from the commissioner. I had a letter from the director. I've had letters from referees and all these people that were regulating the state. And they were
Commission
like,
people.
Mr. Domenech, this is a pretty impressive portfolio of letters from it. And I was like, yeah, no, I've been actually fighting humans in your state from the day that it was legal. And I was the one that they gave the first license to.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, okay. Well, we're glad that you showed your resilience in getting your license. We think you're going to do well. You're approved.
What I don't get is just the in prison stuff in general is like, okay, you did a bad thing, go to jail now, serve your time, and now you can go back to being you.
Right.
But they hold that over your head. You're like, okay, I did the time, I did everything and extra, I've been good, and yet now you're like, you still did that thing though. It's like, then why did I have to serve time if you're not going to wipe my slate clean if I'm a good person?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that stuff has changed now. I think that people in general have understood everybody's done something. You just
Everyone has a
didn't- you just
DUI.
didn't get
Everyone's a
caught,
yeah.
right?
have
And
a
so
DUI.
it's like,
Yeah.
I'm
I
going
don't
to judge
either,
you
but-
on who you are and your character more so than what you've done, right? And so, of course, unless it comes to a violent crime,
Yeah.
right, where you're doing something just ridiculous, okay, you shouldn't have that train of thought.
Agreed.
You got caught on doing something dumb to yourself or whatever.
You were young.
18.
You were young, exactly. I didn't have any direction whatsoever, no mentor in my life. And so when they did do that to me, again, it was another blessing because you go, well, Paul, you're multi-million-dollar agent. I'm doing over $1 million in commission transactions for the past 5 years. What's the secret? And the secret is consistency and resilience and just doing the right thing and not letting somebody tell you that you can't. Because it's so easy to get a license right now. It's 40 hours
To get your real estate license?
to get your real estate license and a test. What did you do to really earn that, right? And anything else, there's like, you've got to write papers, and you're certainly, any doctor that there's a doctor out there has doubted at one point in time whether they want to continue to keep on doing what they're doing. Lawyer, anything, right? It's time consuming. And in this field, it's not. And so
People
really,
can slip
truly,
through the cracks.
yeah, really, truly, I go, you know what? I wanted it bad enough. But here's the thing. I never really wanted to sell real estate. I didn't think that this was going to happen, right? They just told me no. And I was fighting for the next person in line behind me because it made no dang sense that you were telling me no, because you gave me a license to fight humans. But what you're going to do is you're going to tell the person no behind me that might be the person that can help somebody, but they don't even have the stats that I do. But you're going to tell them no because of this piece of paper. So we're going to thwart all of that. Like, there's no way. I'm going to fight you until I get this license, because it don't make no sense.
And then he got it.
And then I ended up getting it, right? So they tried to stop me there too.
Yeah. So you became a real estate agent just to help the people in your gym, and then someone told you no, and you were like, hold my beer, and now you're one of the top real estate agents
And it
in
just
Destin.
Avalanche.
Not only in Destin, like pretty much like, all over the world.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So you've taken real estate, you've found a joy in it. I mean, is there something what do you love most about selling? Because I know you said it wasn't something you really wanted to do. Did you have to find a passion for it, or was it the game of sales that kept you going, or people telling you no? What was it?
Well, it's actually let's see, variables. Ever see Pulp Fiction? Okay, I'm
great
Mr.
movie.
Wolf. I'm Mr. Wolf. Like, I fix the problem. I come up with a solution. I'm a solution-driven person. Give me the biggest problem that you can't handle, and I'll deal with it, and I'll get it done. Real estate transactions are extremely complicated. Listen, when it's easy, it's easy. When it's not, it's not. And that's when deals fall apart. Deals don't fall apart on us.
Yeah. What are some examples of like not easy for people who are trying to get into a home who just have no idea?
Got you. Pool was dug. No permit was pulled. It was put in the 80s. And now it's out of compliance. And you've got this pool in your yard that nobody's ever had a problem with. You're going to sell your house. They do an inspection. Some stuff, there's no permit for it to be closed. They flag, you've got a pool, no permit. We've got to inspect this pool. They inspect the pool. They go, this is out of compliance because of these things. And we go, okay, well, how do we make it compliant? Because the person that did the pool is dead.
I mean, yeah, that is 40 years ago.
They're probably
Yeah.
redo the whole thing.
And so, they're like, there's nothing, like, we don't know.
Fill the hole.
We don't know. Right. We don't know. This is
And
all
the
we kept getting. We don't know.
has no
What do you mean?
budget, right?
Yeah, what do you mean you don't know? Like, this has been going on, like they were living here. This is not an issue. It's been in here for 40 years. The new liner was put in, the whole nine. Like, what is the problem? So that kind of scenario, the people were just like, well, I don't know. There's really nothing you can do about it.
So you can't sell the house because the pool, or what
Right.
happens?
And so now at this point in time, everybody's stressed because who's going to buy a house without the pool being cleared? And then they're going, well, what's wrong with it? If you mean it's out of compliance, is it a danger? No, it's not. You know what it didn't have? It didn't have an alarm on it. Now they want childproof alarms and things like that around the pool.
Yeah.
Right.
Is
So
that
it
a
didn't have
city-
that.
Is that a city code thing or HOA?
That is a city code thing. That is a code thing.
What's the alarm? What is? I've never.
So
Is that
heard.
like the button almost on all the condos now? You have to hit on the way out the slider when a kid goes out to the pool.
gosh.
Yeah. So they have all of these rules now. If
Or
you
at
have
least
a pool for
probably
the
a
kids.
fence.
So then you have to have a fence, right? Or doing things like that. But nobody was giving us an answer because they were in the permit office. They deal with roofs and sidewalks and patios and pools, and now you're asking us what you need to do. Go figure it out. You don't know what you need to do, and we were trying to figure it out, and they weren't giving us an answer until we called every single day. And at the end of it, they were kind of kept throwing different things at us, like every door and every window that has access has to have an alarm on
Right.
it
Yeah.
You hit the button
to make sure that
You know
if
when
a kid
someone's
goes out
leaving.
and somebody's out,
Yeah.
right, so that and then there was they wanted something because it didn't have a gate. They wanted something on the pool, so if the water broke, that it could set off an alarm. So finally, when we boiled it down, I was like, oh, easy peasy. So we got these little chirp things, right?
Sensors.
Put them onto the windows, and then I bought a pool alarm that you just throw into the pool,
Cool.
and when the water
When it
breaks,
ripples up.
ripples and it sends off an alarm.
Perfect.
Yeah,
It
but
went from probably
they were
$100,000 fine or what fee to fix the pool to
and
you had to
that
find
was
it.
like $150 that whole setup, right? But they weren't giving that information. And then when we finally did it all, Anne, who is I love her to death, and she's calling saying, this is what we've done, this is what we've done, this is what we've done. The person at the permit office calls the owner and says, look, your home, it's been permitted and it's been closed. Please tell Ann to stop calling us.
you gotta love her.
Never.
And,
I love it.
Yes. And so now we have that relationship with them down there because they understand that we're not calling you to try to get around or can you close this or can we do. No, you tell us what we need to do and we will make sure that it's done so that you, as the person that has to comply and make sure that this does comply, you don't get in trouble by undercutting some sort of permit inspection. And then also the person that's buying it doesn't have to deal with it down the road. So you just tell us what we need to do and we'll get it done, but you just got to tell us what we need to do. They're not used to that. They're used to people saying like, do I really need that? Do I really have to have that? Can you just look the other way? Like, I don't no.
Your
We're
name's
not doing
behind
that.
it.
Right. And not to mention, like, if I sell you a house, I'm going to sell it for you. I'm going to have that problem down the line anyway. So this right now is a problem that we need to fix on all parties. And what does it take and what does it need? What does it need to happen? And let's just get it done. And so that's one of the examples that the deal would have fallen apart completely, because if you didn't have somebody calling every single day, that time of the contract would have ran out and the contract would have been voided, and then all of a sudden there wouldn't have been a closing.
I feel like
Things like that.
yeah, you're very task oriented where you like to be the detective of problem solving, huh? You like, if there's 20 things wrong, you're like, put them on a list. I'm going to run around town. I'm going to call everyone. I'm going to get everything finished and fixed.
100%.
But that's
I'm
why
that
you
guy.
sell so many houses, is because people trust you. Like if I were selling my house, I would call you because I know you're going to say, this is everything that's wrong. Don't bring me problems. Bring me solutions.
Correct.
And a lot of realtors, I think, will bring homeowners and sellers, they bring them problems.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what am I supposed to do?
That's what
with
the
this?
Right, fix
inspector's
this.
for. The inspector's supposed
Fix
to
this,
bring
do
the
this.
problems.
Yeah.
Or
Because that's what they're paid to do.
And they're like,
even
don't
though it's
worry
annoying.
about it. It'll be fine.
Or
It'll be
what they'll
fine.
tell, like,
No,
you
it's
do a
not.
home walkthrough and it's like, tell me what I need to do. And they're like, oh, you need to get it painted. You need to do that. And then they walk out the
Stage
door.
it. Yeah.
And then you're like, well, who do I call?
Right.
Right. And so
Like
here's,
you're like, I got a list of people.
I got it. Because here's an opportunity for a real estate agent, right? Here's the opportunity. If you are in real estate, you should have a guy. That guy is, you become the customer of that guy. So my painter, I have a few painters, I am their customer. So they constantly get business from me. So
Okay,
they
we've got some
constantly
work
do
for them.
a good job. But as a real estate agent, you're missing the opportunity to leverage somebody like that when you let the homeowner do the calling and picking that person. Because right now I could call my guy and be like, hey, I got a job. I need this done. One of three. And somebody will bump something to fit me in because I am a repeat customer. So become a repeat customer to these vendors. And that's how you leverage the power of being the guy in real estate.
And you also know your guys are going to get it done right. As opposed to if we were to go call a painter, it might be the worst painting job. And now we're stuck and it keeps postponing the date.
And he'll mow your lawn.
Yeah. I do that.
I know.
I do that. I love it. I love it. Hey, listen, I'm about that life.
Yeah.
I'm not the one that wants to sit behind the desk making phone calls. I've literally had somebody walking by a home. I'm putting the sign in the yard and go, "Oh, this home is for sale." I said, "Yeah. Would you like to see it?" They walked in. The next day, they called me and put a cash offer in on it, and I got double size because if they don't know you exist, you're not an option. But the thing is that you want to stay behind closed doors in an office where nobody sees you. This is a contact sport. Like, get some stuff done. Put it on your agenda to be out in the neighborhood because it is a relationship business. How do you plan on being in a relationship if you're locked in your bedroom all day doing phone calls? Like, you got to get out. You got to get out, and that's how you learn how things are done as well so that you can maintain the standard.
How did the shark come out? Because as you're talking, I'm like, oh my God, you're a shark. And then it reminds me, your logo is a shark. Yeah. How did you pen this idea of the shark?
Well, through creativity, right? So consistency is the mother of success, right? So you consistent, you can literally fail your way to success by just being consistent. But the brother to that is creativity. By being consistent, you will have creativity. Things happen because consistency can be mundane. The same thing over and over and over.
Burn out.
Over. You get burned out. So what do? You spice it up a little bit. You do a little here, you do a little there, but you get the same outcome. And then what it does is it kind of changes how you do things. And then next thing you know, perfect example is your tongue sticking out when you're doing a basketball shot and they call you Michael Jordan. You think Michael Jordan had his tongue out the first time when he was doing shooting basketball? I don't know. They'd be like, yo, Michael, what are you doing with your tongue? Get that in your mouth again and keep on shooting the basketball until he was doing it so consistently. Then he was able to say, hey, I'm going to be able to throw this brand out here, and he sticks his tongue out, and that's Michael Jordan. It's the same thing. And through consistency, what had happened was my first assistant, Tracy, she has a daughter, Kira, and her daughter had gone to school that day and learned about sharks. So she came into the office and I was running around and she looked at me and said, Uncle Paulie, you know what? You're like a shark. You never stop moving. And I was like, So I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I kind of just let it sit there for a little while. Then on my birthday, she bought me a shark hat that I still have. And that's what's in that thing is 6 years old. Everybody sees me. If you've seen me at an event, I've got the shark helmet on. She bought me that for my birthday. And then that's kind of what spawned the whole shark thing. And then I look at it and I go, here's the thing about the shark. The shark is like a real estate agent, right? You have to always keep moving constantly or else you die. You have to always have forward progress, prospecting, talking to your people. Also, when opportunity comes, you've got to take a bite at it right away. Even if the opportunity doesn't taste right, you still have to circle back and take another bite out of it. Because often the first opportunity is not where you're going to get it. You're going to get it in the follow-up. So as a shark would, it would bite and then it would circle back and then go in for the kill.
So every opportunity is like blood in the water to you.
Correct. And so every time I get somebody that says like, hey, I'm interested, or anything that I do creates blood in the water. Let's just put it that way. So it's not me attacking somebody, but I'm doing things with a purpose to where it catches people's attention. Oh, look at that. And then I go, oh, focus on you. Here I come.
You're the apex
and then
predator.
I go, yeah, I get that. Yeah. But not in a way that it's like you're a shark, you're hunting people down, you're getting. That's not what it means. I'm just not going to stop. I'm always going to be looking for opportunity.
Calculated.
I'm always going to take the opportunity, and will always follow up with the opportunity should it arise. And by doing that, that's where the shark was born, and that's how the real estate thing happened.
And that's what sets you apart from
when
everybody else.
When did that combine into starting to push yourself into the marketing side? Because you're on every other billboard on the Emerald Coast. The first time I saw your face was 2 years ago. I didn't know who you were, but when I met you at an event, I was like, oh, that's the dude from the for sale sign in my neighborhood from like 2 years ago.
He sees your face everywhere.
What gave you the thought being like, this return on investment's going to work. I'm going to shove my face all over the town.
Okay. And so when I was doing MMA for a long time, right, I realized that what I was called a matchmaker. So I would work for a lot of different promoters. I was the person that they hired to put the fights together, to put the cage together. So I had MMA Cage Rentals. I had MMA Solutions, which was the matchmaking part. And so as people were promoting, also doing raves, right, back then I was also promoting. So I knew that if they don't know you exist, you're not an option. That's where that came from, right? And so as I was doing my MMA events, it was called Cage Combat, but nobody knows what that is, right? Nobody knows what necessarily another company was, Atlas Fights or G-Force, right? Like, what is that? But people knew what MMA was. And so I would put MMA on the poster big, and then if you got drawn to that, then you'll read the rest of it. And so by doing that, I realized like I've got to put myself out there through guerrilla marketing in order to let people know that it exists, or else it won't be an option. And so what's the most recognizable thing in real estate? Your face. Who am I dealing with? So you see a sign out there that just has a name. Who's that? They don't even know who that is. And so what I decided to do was I started putting my face on yard signs that just had positive messages like changing lives, believe in yourself, be you, and started branding myself with my face on it. And then that led into putting my face onto my real estate stuff. And then people would see me and go, you're the real estate guy. And they wouldn't know my name. But nobody is coming up to me, seeing my name and going, you're the real estate guy, because they don't know my name. So that's when I was like, gotta put this face everywhere. And so then that's when I started putting my face everywhere.
It worked.
I started branding it.
It worked.
It did, right?
I knew. I was like, you're that guy.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I saw your face. Your face is in my front yard.
When we were driving, for people who don't know, we actually work together and do some content stuff too. But we were driving, I was behind you in Fort Walton Beach, and I saw another one. I'm like,
everywhere.
So talking about your face,
Yeah.
it's very important to you.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
Let's
let's transition to
Let's
that.
lead into the stitch.
yeah. The face, right? Well, I always tell people, like, I wasn't born with this face. I earned it. Right? Like, you don't want this face.
It's a beautiful face.
Listen, you don't want this beautiful face.
Why?
Because you have to do what I did to get this face.
What did you do?
He's
Right.
talking about the
So,
ears
just
and the
thing,
color.
right,
Oh,
right.
you can't see the ears
you
because
can't
it's
see
got
the
the
ears, yeah.
headphones. Yeah. From MMA.
Oh,
that
this
one's good.
one- that one's
that one's good too, but yeah.
This is a little
Yeah.
puffy cauliflower. From Eat your
Cauliflower,
vegetables.
yeah.
Do you have a girlfriend
So-
that just would bite your ear?
I was surprised. Like, yeah. That's what ended up happening. I was
But just the right ear.
I was just dating a girl while I was doing jiu-jitsu. I'm like, hey, slap me, like, all night long, so that I
She
could
has
get
a fetish?
cauliflower ears. Just like, slap,
Make me look
no.
tough.
Yeah.
So
So
either way, real estate, you're going great. You got the Domenech group pumping out all this stuff. What led you to now doing triathlon training?
Yeah.
And even back into jujitsu again, because I think you were saying you were killing it in real estate, but maybe you weren't in the physical shape you wanted, and you went right back into that discipline thought
Right.
process.
And so in the time of getting my real estate license and doing all that stuff, I had my son.
Big deal.
So,
Cutest
big
kid
deal.
on the
Yeah,
planet.
awesome.
Oh my God, he's so
My guy is awesome.
Sorry,
and
Frankie,
so-
you're cute too. You know.
So I had my son, and so my focus shifted, my priority shifted to work and my son. And so until my son was 3 and could actually go back to the gym, I stayed out of the gym. And so I would say that I got my piggy bank my piggy bank
Dad
happened.
bod
right?
started.
The dad bod, yeah, the dad bod. And so that started happening because it was like, yeah, I was doing really well in real estate. I got my son. I could have whatever I want, steak, ice cream, all that stuff. But then I started to realize, like, all right, dad bod's kicking in. And so my son is very athletic and I'm super competitive still. So I would still go to jiu-jitsu here and there. And I was like going to the gym, but not really committed like I am again, like recommitted. This is probably the most I've ever been committed to anything. Even my world championships. But so then when he turned 3 and went back into the gym and was able to walk around, the thing is that your children, they can be there, but until they're cognitive of what's going on, that's what my thing was, right? Like I have him in the gym and there's weights and everything going on,
Right,
and he's just
yeah.
young and he's running around and he doesn't understand stop or whatever. So I didn't want to put him in that environment until he was, and then that's when I started to get back into it. But it came with him. So we started going to jiu-jitsu and he was going with me and enjoyed it. And so I would do jiu-jitsu and then he would play with the kids there. And so when he was able to be involved, that's when I said, okay, now I can start doing my fitness again because I can start doing it with him because he's playing sports. And so then I shifted again to now have my son with me while I'm training and doing all of those things. And then also my real estate business. And the way I got into the triathlon situation was I was training really hard, coming back, best shape of my life, 47 years old, 46 at the time, best shape of my life. And my buddy, Alex Vidal, who currently is the president of ERA, which is a real estate company, franchise, national president, he was doing triathlons and doing an Ironman. And I was doing jiu-jitsu, and I was pretty much a savage in that realm. And so when we came together and we met each other, I was like, that triathlon stuff is pretty cool. And he was like, yeah, I signed up for an Ironman. And I was like, what? That's crazy. Like, oh, bro, I'm going to be there for you, 100%. And so I'm running and I'm doing my jiu-jitsu thing, thinking I'm going to go back for another world championship. And so I'm on that track, strongest I've ever been. Everything is good. And then I go to his Ironman to support him in Houston. And when I went, I started looking at all these people doing it. And I was like, I could do this. Yo, that person's like fat, 73.
Yeah.
That person right there's got one leg. That one right there, they look like they belong at a happy hour. Like, and they're doing this like, no way. I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm not a man if I can't do an Ironman,
And
right?
what's an Ironman? Just to
Ironman.
clarify, it's
2.5 mile swim.
in the ocean usually.
In Gulf or wherever.
Okay.
Then a 112-mile bike ride.
Oh my God.
And then a 26-mile run.
And what do you do first? You swim first, bike.
Swim, bike, run.
So,
So your legs are jello by the time.
Oh, yeah, you're dead.
ready
You're
to
dying.
run.
Like, people
Yeah.
are like, you literally
And you're
will.
doing a full marathon.
You will, I believe, thank God that you finish the swim. You will make a deal with the devil to like be able to just get through the biking, and then you will praise God when you finish the race at the end. So you're making deal. You are having a holy experience,
Yeah.
100% through this whole entire thing.
are you out of body at any point? Are you like,
You have to be, because I mean, you just think about it. You're pushing your body for over 140 miles to do something like it's crazy. Now, mind you, me doing this didn't happen like, oh, I'm going to do an Ironman. I could do this, come off the couch eating Doritos. I'm in the best shape of my life right now. Like, I'm running, I'm lifting, I'm like, my morning schedule is great. Like, I'm waking up at 4 o'clock. I got 3 hours to train. I'm still at home for my son to cook him breakfast and get him off to school and pick him up and bring him back to jiu-jitsu and doing all of these things. Now, my morning didn't look like it does now because I would wake up at like 4, be like an hour and a half, 5 o'clock, go to the gym, get back at 6:30, kind of do that. Now it's like on the bike at 4 o'clock. I'm riding the bike for like 3 hours, or I'm running for 3 hours, or doing something like that, like to train for the Ironman. But the Iron Man, in essence, was so that I can capture time back. So what we do in life as we are going through it, we tend to drift. We drift. And drifting is going to the coffee pot. Drifting is having the extra conversation you really don't need to be having when you need to be productive. Drifting is scrolling during your day. Oh my God.
I feel attacked. Why'd you look at me?
Right, right. Exactly. Like, yeah.
Put your phone down.
Right. Drifting is editing something you really don't need to be editing. It's not really making you any money.
Nah, not me.
Not
Not
him.
you? Okay,
He's
I
very
mean,
strategic.
Really, is he?
What would
It's
yours
the opposite.
be?
She's like, will you edit this? I'm like, no. That's like,
What would
not
yours
gonna, that's
be?
not a client waiting.
What's yours? I don't know what yours would be.
What is your drift?
Pooping too long and scrolling.
Oh yeah,
scrolling.
sitting on the toilet.
Yes, there you go. I mean, the man did say, like,
He
you
did.
get my legs go to sleep.
Getting in
Like,
an-
that's a thing.
Having
I
a
wouldn't
mental,
even think of that. Like, that's something, unless you've done it, you're like, you wouldn't even think of that. Like,
Just
legs
try
go to
it.
sleep.
See how
Like,
uncomfortable it is. And he does this multiple times a day.
No, I will get hemorrhoids.
One of my things though is having a mental argument with my alarm clocks in the morning sometimes.
Oh, okay. Well,
4 a.m. and all of a sudden I'm not out till 5:15. And then, but once it hits 7, I'm pissed off at myself because I'm like, I needed that extra hour and now I don't have it. Now I got to go here.
yeah.
I
now
gotta
I'm
tell
gonna
you,
talk
I'm
about
like,
that because-
it's okay. You need the sleep. Like, don't be afraid to take the sleep.
And I'm like, no, because now I'm not going to get in that cardio that I
Goggins would
wanted
be
to.
like,
Instead,
"Get up,
I
you
ended
little
up
bitch."
working.
yeah, exactly.
I planned on mowing the yard after I ran, but now I can't do that. Now I got to do one or the
Yeah,
other.
you're fucking right. You should feel that way.
Yeah.
Like,
Who's gonna carry
you're a
the
bum.
boat?
You're a
That's how-
bum. You're like, yeah. Who's going to
That's how I
carry the
feel.
boat now?
But
You're not carrying the boat.
she's the opposite though. She's like, you needed it. Clearly your body was telling you to rest. I'm like, no, my body was being a lazy bitch. Like, let's go. What are you talking about?
And so I teach a morning classes, morning rituals type stuff. So that's extremely common.
Yeah.
So here I am in this situation where I'm going like, we drift, and the devil wants you to do that, right? The devil is like, yeah, don't
calling
worry
me the
about
devil?
it. Yes, exactly. They called you the
Get
devil.
comfortable.
I know, there
Fine.
you
I'm
go.
gonna kick him out of bed
Yeah,
next
there you go.
time.
Yeah. Just
She's
like
gonna leaning over me. Just,
Hey,
get
Jesus
up.
said, get out.
Yeah.
The devil's not going to let you drift today, bitch.
Fuck the devil.
That's right.
It's
The power of Christ compels me.
Yes.
Running.
Get out of bed.
Right. So you drift. And so I was finding myself drifting a lot and going like, you know what? I'm not really being as productive as I could be. I'll take these coffee meetings and we're going to lunch to get something to talk about business. Like we should be eating, not talking. That's rude. So I was like, you know what? I need something to train for that I can tighten up all my time with and everything be intentional. The time that I have with my son needs to be intentional. The time that I have at work needs to be intentional. The time that I leave needs to be intentional. What I eat needs to be intentional. How I hydrate needs to be intentional because I'm training for something so big. That's the Iron Man. Or else you're going to get hurt doing this. Literally.
Which leads us to the next
Right. But
Yeah.
but that was the intention of the Iron Man, was really to help me stop drifting. Because what's going to happen is either you're going to make yourself uncomfortable so that you could deal with what comes down the pipe, or God's going to do it for you. And when God does it for you and it's unexpected,
You end
it
up in prison.
really, really sucks. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Whether it's
Because then you
health
have-
or whatever
Because then
it
you
is.
have
Yeah.
zero control.
Yeah.
And that's what I said. People will decide to only take medicine when it has to be their food instead of using their food today as your medicine. We often want to treat the symptom, but not the problem.
I have this conversation with so many friends because I can't understand.
They're very.
You wake up when you have a
medical stuff.
headache and you take an Advil. Well, why are you taking an Advil? Have you thought maybe you're dehydrated? Have you tried water? Have you put salt in your coffee? Are you electrolyte? Like what's happening to your body? Why are you masking? And then the next day you wake up, you have a headache. You do the same thing over and over and over. And now you're leading to a bigger health problem because you've been masking this thing. And then, like you said, God's like, hey, you're not listening. So let me turn the volume up a little bit.
Correct.
And then you ignore that.
And
Oh,
now
let me
you're
take
diabetic.
this medicine for it. And then he turns the volume up. And then eventually people are like, why me? Why is this
Yeah,
happening
why is
to
it-
me?
right,
Well,
it's
no,
all-
don't go into the victim because you've had multiple things that have shown you you've just been ignoring them because you want the easy way out. You don't want to be uncomfortable. I think people fear the uncomfortability, nowadays when people like us dive headfirst into it.
Right.
I'm like, cool, what's up? But I think that if I could speak for you, I think that's one of the things that really draws me to you, is because when you're uncomfortable and challenges in your business and challenges in your life and challenges with relationships and family and friends, you're like, instead of backing off and saying, let me figure out, this is me. It's like, no, hey, snap out of it. What the fuck? Let's fix this.
Fucking double down.
And that's what's made you so successful.
You people are afraid of pain and they want it to go away. And what they don't think about is that pain is like, it's what you need to get through to get to the other side, because when the pain subsides, something else will take its place. But you are not you're trying to mask that pain. You're not really actually allowing yourself to go through it. So then when you mask it and it kind of just like dissipates, you just don't pay it any attention. And then all of a sudden it rears its head again, and it's even twice as worse.
Right.
So it's like, embrace the pain. I was thinking about this the other day, and I know he wants to segue into this, right? But I was doing this morning, like my leg is cramping right now from running this morning. But this morning I was at a point of super uncomfortable, and I still had 3 miles to go. And I was like, you are not letting off the pedal. Pain is a privilege. Pain is a privilege. You know how many people that are on their deathbed right now, in their last moments of death, wishing that they had one more regret, wishing that they had one more doubt, that they could take all of it to live and continue living. If somebody's dying on the chair and you said, listen, I'm going to give you this, but you're going to have this huge regret weighing on your heart, but it'll let you live 10 more years if you get through it, they will gladly take that pain. So pain is a privilege, because the only time that you should feel comfortable is when you're dead.
I agree.
Is when you're dead, period. And if you are comfortable, you're dying. You're literally dying.
And people say that. Why not take medicine? It's there so you don't have to suffer. You're going to suffer either way. It's just a matter of if you're going to suffer a little bit right now, or if you're going to ignore this symptom and suffer bigger later.
Correct.
Just deal with the pain. You have a headache. You're uncomfortable. Okay, fix it. Fix it with things that your body
needs.
needs.
Why do you have a headache? How about
find
that?
the root of the problem.
Yeah.
But people
Were you
are
binging
afraid.
drinking last night?
They're afraid of the truth, right?
Yeah.
They'd rather just be stuck in ignorance and be naive to saying, well, you know what, I don't really want to know. And then when it really happens and some catastrophe happens and you realize, like, why didn't you speak up when it happened? This whole thing could have been prevented. You've just got to realize that God's got a plan. Things are going to be what they are, right? They just are. When you come to grips with that, then you can live life with a purpose. Like if you have a headache and it's a tumor and you're not getting treated for it, how are you going to live the rest of your days? Are you still going to be there on freaking Sunday on the couch eating Doritos, licking the cheese off your fucking fingers when you got a fucking tumor in your brain? Like, no, you're gonna go to the game. You're gonna live life because you're gonna die. So it's like, pay attention to the pain, know where it comes from, and realize that pain is a privilege. So as I was running that last 3 miles, I realized that my accident that had just happened a month ago could have been absolutely 100% fatal. And I wouldn't have to deal with this pain. But this pain that I'm dealing with right now allows me to live today, to see my son, to pour into my son. And I might not be here tomorrow. Anything can happen, right? But still be here and live. And so at that point in time, I just turned the shit up. And I think I ran fucking 30 seconds faster than I ran the other 6 miles before.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's the fact, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm really big on this whole thing. Like, if you can, and you know that by doing so, things would change in your life for the better, you must. But it's those things that we can do that we don't do that is creating the obstacles in your path. Doing the things that you don't want to do that you know are good for you is truly clearing the path to your greatness. So every single time that you don't want to wake up and you want to be a bum and you want to wake up at 5:30, understand you're putting something in your path to greatness and you're a fucking bum.
Whoever he's talking to, fucking loser.
Okay.
So don't let the devil make you comfortable, bro.
I'm the devil. This is the way.
Come over here.
Snuggle me.
Don't worry.
I'll have a baby for you.
Relax. Just relax.
But on the flip side, I do believe that sometimes when you do have those moments, your body does tell you when to rest. And this man does not know how to rest.
Well,
and so
that is-
sometimes I'm like, sleep in and stop beating yourself up.
But then I hate myself the rest
That's
of the day if
fine.
I don't get in what I need to
You
get
can
in.
hate yourself,
this is-
but
no,
there
listen.
is a balance.
So here we go. Here we go, right? What was the reason that you didn't get up till 5:30? Was it, what did you eat the night before? Did you stay up a little bit later?
Oh,
Did
for
you-
sure,
you
but
know what
I
I'm
only
saying?
need
Were
like
you,
4
were
hours.
you making babies? Were you like doing things like that? Like, so this is what you have to focus on and understand, okay, I woke up at 5:30. What is the reason for me waking up at 5:30? Sure, you fucking kick yourself in the ass going, you're a fucking punk, but not for waking up at 5:30, but for doing whatever you did that
night
created the
before.
outcome for you to wake up at 5:30 and nipping that in the bud. Not feeling guilty that your body couldn't get up at 5:30, because had you gotten up at 4:30, you probably would be sluggish. And even though you feel like you would have done those things, it wouldn't have been done to the best potential anyway because of what had happened before. So we focus on what had happened before instead of not getting up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, possibly.
point.
But at the same time, when that alarm clock goes off, it's like, get up right then. Because if you start questioning and snooze it more than once, like now you're meant to like, well, I am tired. Maybe I could just. It's like, no, don't. Well, the second you question it, it's like, just get up. That's why I know some people put their phone across the room.
Correct.
So when the alarm goes off, you have to go get it.
I
You're
would
out.
kill him.
Listen, there's
If you have it
there's-
here, you're like,
There's an alarm clock, and I don't know where it is, but it's a scale, and you literally have to step on the scale in order for the alarm clock to stop going. And then people will put it across the room. You step on the scale to check your weight to see where you're at in the morning when you start.
too
with the
fat,
alarm
will
clock.
not
Yeah.
turn off.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is just rude.
Yeah, that's awesome, right? That's so.
I
that's
need it.
Yeah,
I
right,
need
right.
it.
Creating that habit where you're checking yourself, because what you don't measure, you can't change.
So
What you
true.
don't measure, you can't change. And you know, when it comes down to the alarm clock situation, you set that alarm clock for a reason. So, like, get the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yes, and you should kick yourself in the ass for not getting up 100%. But it's not the fact that you woke up at that point in time because your body was telling you you needed more sleep, but what was focus on what you did the night before.
It's a good point.
So that it can be changed, because the thing is that you're not going to change what had happened or the time. That's never going to. So if you dwell on that, you'll constantly kick your ass all day long. But when you say, you know what, I'm not going to eat that pint of ice cream, I'm not going to watch Netflix, now you could kill that and then keep on going through your day without feeling like you're losing something and it's still keeping you stuck.
Do you know what he said to me when I told him I was pregnant? I refuse to get pregnant with you. And so when I eat ice cream, and it's insulting, but I understand.
Because I said I don't want to gain weight with you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, he's not wrong,
He's not really at all.
but
Is he
there
buying-
is like a
he buying you the
physiological.
ice cream? Is he buying you the
Yeah.
ice- Yeah, you know what
Yes.
he's doing? And he's buying you the ice cream that he likes, right?
All the way.
Yes. Yeah, yes. But we do have a similar.
I like this kind of ice cream. He's like, well, whatever. It's ice cream. Eat it.
We have a similar palate. We both like
Yeah.
similar things here. So, in his defense,
Yeah.
yeah. But you've been really good. You need to stop beating yourself up. But that could be me as the devil telling you to eat ice cream.
You
But
should,
again-
that's her saying you should get fat with me. That's what-
Not fat with me, but there is like a scientific physiological thing that happens, right?
Yeah, for sure.
When-
Because you
oh,
get comfortable trying to like nest with your wife.
no,
Right.
you don't get comfortable with that. There is something I just read where I guess the man has to put on extra fat too, or there's something that happens
Yeah, that
during the
was probably
pregnancy.
that's probably a very natural human thing from like
Yeah.
back in the 1600s. It's like we're past the point now where they didn't have dumbbells and like a gym and
Yeah. I don't
running shoes.
Yeah, they were lifting
it's
elephants.
Like, yeah,
You
no.
shut your mouth. You agree with me. You're getting pregnant with me too, and you're going down. So y'all are all enjoy these beautiful, sexy bodies,
that's-
boys.
'Cause he had it. He did the
That's
dad
not a
bod
thing.
thing.
I
He
did,
said
I did the dad bod thing, but now I have a
Yeah,
father
yeah.
figure.
Yeah.
Hey.
But we have talked about like
Right?
putting our kid in jujitsu. So maybe that would be something y'all could do together.
Oh yeah,
Which is really
It's
cute.
a beautiful thing,
Mhm.
and he's done jujitsu. It's cute.
Yeah.
He had the blue flu. It's cute. You get to like your blue belt. It's like, oh, you're cute.
Yeah.
It's like a toddler.
But there's
You
good
still can
things.
throw him around.
Yeah, there's good things though that kids get to learn, discipline. They learn how to control their emotions and how to get stuck in uncomfortable situations.
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
Right, and it's work out of it
Yeah.
instead of panicking, and then also like understanding the touch and the threat of it all, rather than not being smothered and panicking.
Right.
So,
How many white belts do you know that'll just tap from uncomfortable being smothered?
Right.
Correct.
Just someone on their chest. And they're like, because they're out of breath. They've been flexing their forearms the last 2 minutes. And the guy on top's just like, nah, 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 nah.
It's like a good trip and a bad trip. We should probably
Yeah,
put a
right.
side by side.
So good, so good.
So let's lead into your stitch because I know you've been dying to talk about this.
Dying. I'm just
Oh,
wanted
we
to
can
hear how
feel
he was
your
dying.
anxiety. We can feel you.
Anxiety.
Just kidding. He doesn't have any of that.
So
He really wants to eat ice cream.
he doesn't.
I know. I have chocolate chip cookies in my bag. I brought
Oh
two
my
just
gosh.
in case.
This
Just in case.
literally
She's
every night she
smuggling
makes
cookies
like
for you,
cookies
bro.
and stuff.
But I make them from scratch. We're not
Yeah.
like buying
She
crap.
She makes homemade
bro.
sourdough, all that. But in her mind, she's like, it's homemade and it has like not many ingredients. I'm like, you're right. It's natural. It's much better than the store bought stuff.
Yeah.
It's still gonna make me fat though. I can't have homemade chocolate chip pancakes. It's still pancakes.
My goal is to wake up and have a protein because I'm not craving a lot of meat. Sometimes I wake up and I want homemade cinnamon rolls
Right.
smothered in honey
Well, here's the
syrup,
thing about
and I'm
all
like,
of it. You know what? Like, no.
and I make a big batch.
I don't think.
and then
I
she
think
stares at me and says, eat it. And I'm like,
I-
no.
This is some fugazi shit. Listen, this is some fugazi shit. I'm gonna tell you why it's some fugazi shit. Because we all have those cravings. We just do not give in to them. So
Who?
you women are
Who
like,
are these people?
You women are like, oh, I'm pregnant, so I've got to
Excuse.
eat this. It's like you wanted to eat that shit before,
Yeah.
you just never did, and now
I'm
you got
pregnant.
this.
Do you give me Eggos and
No,
chickens? And
I ate it before too, but
Yeah.
now I'm like trying to be mindful. Now,
it's funny though.
now it's the
if
opposite.
you want
Now
to,
I'm
you
like,
want to
let me
talk
be
about
mindful.
natural
Mindful.
and not all the medicine. The study from back in the day with men getting pregnant, all this food didn't exist back then. So why not just be natural and eat real food?
We are eating real
You're
food.
eating
Where it's honey, it's flour, it's real milk, it's real eggs. I'm not putting
I'm
like
pretty sure Breyers and Ben and Jerry's.
you
is it.
bought me that.
Yeah,
You
I
told me
know.
to get ice cream.
You're getting pregnant with me.
Okay, yeah, no. Shit, I'm burning 33,000.
That's true. You could do it now. You could have-
That was the one. That was the one thing. I put salt on everything.
Uh-huh.
I gotta put salt on.
You have to.
everything.
You
Yeah,
have
because
to.
Yeah. It's
we
awesome.
we took our dog for a walk through the neighborhood yesterday, and I was like, oh, we normally run with him, and I tried to run.
Not happening.
It's
She ran like 20 feet. She's like,
the body just doesn't. Your legs are going like this instead
Not
of like
working out.
this.
Yeah. It's like, what kind of muscles are we using here? Like, what are
Your
you-
breasts
Yeah,
are like
it's-
smacking you in your belly. You're like, this is weird. And you can feel. That's why the trippiest thing, and we'll do a whole pregnant podcast at some point. But I always used to see women pregnant, and I'm like, oh, the baby's in there. You feel this. You
the
can feel
child
the
going
being
like
in
this?
you. Like imagine a cantaloupe in your belly, and then you're trying to run, and like pushing on your bladder, pushing on your diaphragm, punch it. You feel it in there.
Yeah.
I know that's probably an obvious thing for everybody, but I
don't
just
see very many pregnant people running.
we have a friend, shout out
Yeah.
Caitlin Lillard, back in California where I'm from. We would go home to visit my parents and they still live there. 8.5 months pregnant, and she'd be getting back from like her 4-mile run. Just
Yeah.
everything is jacked,
Yeah.
like a perfect
She's
like
ripped.
fitness girl. But then like she turns sideways, she's like, oh my god, just
Belly.
I told
Just
David, I was
killed
like,
it.
that's going to be me if we ever get pregnant.
nowadays.
Rolls of ice cream.
I got 2 chocolate chips in my bag right now.
If I bring up, are you planning on working out? It's like knife to my throat in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Like, bring up working out one more fucking time.
Yeah, I'm like, I remember when you said to me at 2:05 p.m. today, did you work out, you fat bitch? I'm going to kill you.
I definitely don't speak to her that way. She's making all this up.
But I do. I'm walking. Like, we're at least walking, 2
Smuggling
to
cookies
4
like
miles.
Bill Cosby and his pudding pops. I
right.
got a pudding pop in my bag.
There's a pudding in the.
I regret nothing. But we're walking. for walking.
We're getting her out for like 2.5, 3
That's
miles.
good. Yeah, which is good.
Trying to
Actually,
stay
like
active.
really good. You got to just stay active.
stay active.
You got to just stay active. Yeah. So
Yeah. So that was a sidebar
All
conversation.
right. Well, let's lead into why you say the new name is Stitch, because you've been training hard. What led to this?
yeah, and so Stitch Domenech came when I was actually 9 years old, and I got a rock. A buddy threw a rock at his brother, and it curved and it hit me in my forehead. And so I got stitches then as a young one. And my brother, who's an animal,
Is this the one in Key West?
Yeah, Key West. This is my guy. He starts calling me Stitch Domenech. And I'm like, no, I'm not Stitch Domenech. I'm like 9. I'm like, I'm not Stitch Domenech.
What's his last
So
name?
His name's just Dennis. So Dezel. So, but and so what ended up happening was this accident happened, and the first thing he calls and he says, "Hey, how you doing over there, Stitch?" And I was like,
It's back.
I was like, it's back. I was like, oh my God. So good.
Yeah.
So good. Perfect timing. And so, yeah, that's a story that we're going to have to save the whole story for another podcast because we have litigation going on right now. because
Oh,
it was
shut
crazy.
up.
But what I ended up with was 85 stitches, 10 subcutaneous inside my in my chest, and then 35 outside on my chest. It was a laceration to the chest wall, and then I had 25 in my arm and like 18 or so, however you add that up, the rest in my face. I was sitting there in the hospital in the trauma unit, and I'm wondering, like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? I'm here with holes in my chest. I've got my face is slashed up. My arm is slashed up. I'm doing this to not drift. What, like, I'm sacrificing my life here? Like, I'm on death's door to not drift? I was like, why am I doing this? And it was really disturbing for a little while. And then I just, like, took a nap, because they weren't getting to me. I was probably in there for about 7 hours before they actually like wheeled me back into surgery and did their thing for 90 minutes and knocked me out. And I was wondering why. And the answer came to me when I woke up and I was in more of a calm state. And the answer is because I can, right? Like, I organized my life with having the morning time. I organized my routine and ritual with my son. I organized my business so that I had that routine and ritual going. After nothing needed to be sacrificed. I just needed to put myself in a position where I was training more in the morning instead of doing some of the other things that I was already doing for myself. That's my time. So God gave me the ability physically, mentally, spiritually, with my families, with my feelings, with my fitness, to be able to do this. And so if he's given me that ability to do this, then I have to do it, because that is what is allowing me to reach my greatness, or else he wouldn't have given me all those things. He wouldn't have, my fitness wouldn't have been right, or my schedule wouldn't have been right with my son, or my business would have been crazy. And at that point in time, sure, can I do the Ironman? Yeah, I can wing it, but I could also take all the money that I have in the bank and go to Vegas, and that's not going to be a sure bet. But with all of those things aligned, you have to look at all the little things that you have going on in your life. And when those things are aligned, it's an opportunity to do something great. And when you choose not to do something because you just don't feel like it, you are getting in your own way to achieve greatness. So you've got to ask, I always ask myself, like, can I? And if I can, I must.
And what happens if you don't? You will
if you don't-
regret it the rest of your
Correct.
life.
And so regret
Yeah.
is like a stain that cannot be removed. It's useless. Regret is absolutely useless. But in the regret, though, you can use it as a lesson.
I knew I should have got it before I am today.
You can use it as a lesson, right? Like what caused you to do whatever it is that you regret. Don't regret the thing that you did, but what led to that thing and hedge that up, because that's what led you to doing whatever it is that you're doing that you now regret, which is the action. The action in itself, you're just going to dwell on it. It does you no good.
Yeah.
So get over it and use it as fuel to change things in your life so that you can get past that regret.
Because you're given an opportunity to check out. That was the devil drifting you right there. Hey,
Temptation. That's what the devil
you
comes
got
in.
hurt. This is what happened. You had the situation. Check out of your Iron Man. But as the Iron Man creeps up, you're gonna think, I should be out there.
I should be out there.
Why didn't I do it? And look how fast you freaking bounce back.
And so I'm into
Last
the doctors, like the doctors and everything, like doctors clearing me for what I've got to do in order to do what I want to do, right? Like, so there's a lot of liability in what has happened to me, and things are like different because they've happened to me. But the one thing that I was blessed with was the fact that the doctor said, okay, you can do this if you want to do this, because you will not hurt yourself any further than what you've already been hurt.
And so when you're running and thinking you want to check out, you can reflect back on that situation and say, I did this. This is nothing. This cramp in my leg right now is nothing.
Well, it makes me realize that pain is a privilege.
Yeah. I love that.
You were this close to not feeling it.
Yeah.
Not feeling it. And the only time you want to get comfortable, just go and die.
Yeah.
Just
So
die.
true.
Just go die. Because even when you're relaxing and you're like, I'm going on vacation or doing a mindset break or whatever, you are refueling yourself to take some sort of action.
Yes.
A lot of people get comfort to do nothing. Like, you're not comfortable in your house on the weekend watching the game and all that so that you can refuel for the next week coming up. You're getting drunk, hammered, eating crap, feeling like dog shit. And then no wonder why you don't like Mondays, because you're fucking hungover.
I love Mondays.
I love Mondays too.
And I also like to watch the game.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So like now you're wondering like why people say, "Oh, I hate Mondays," right? Thank God it's Friday, because you're gonna get hammered, and then after you get hammered, Monday sucks.
Yeah.
But here's the same thing: if you're not a morning person,
I am. She's not.
I would tell you, but that's not a thing. I don't believe that's a thing. Like, you don't like waking up. Are you getting enough sleep? Number one. Are you getting 8 hours of sleep and then you just don't like to wake up in the morning? Okay, that's a problem. And the problem most of the time is if you've gotten enough sleep, it's because you're waking up and you are rushing into your life. You're rushing into your life with minutes to get into flow with it.
You guys
So
don't know
it
me.
feels like a rush. So then you don't like to wake up, because who the hell likes to wake up and then be in a rush? So if you actually wake up a little bit earlier and you start pouring into yourself and you say your gratitudes and maybe you do some exercises and some declarations and you just kind of sit there and think about what you're going to do and what you appreciate, you will appreciate waking up because you're filling your cup up first. But instead of waking up and pouring your cup out all day long because you just didn't have time to fill it up. And so once you find that filling up your cup in the morning and how good it feels, because you can give genuinely out of your cup without feeling like I barely have anything to give. And these people, because that's what life is. Life is always a give. Like people are always, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what we live for. We live to earn and give. We live to earn and give. And so when you do that and you wake up in the morning and you don't fill your cup up, because the only person that's going to fill your cup up is you, that's what you should expect. It's your responsibility. You just feel like the morning sucks.
I also feel like the sleep doctor brought up some good points at one point, or sleep, I don't remember what his title is.
Walker.
Yeah. Some people just are more night people. I'm a night person.
Well, that's because your schedule's that way, though.
But I've tried. I mean, even in school when I was a kid and we would set our alarm, we'd have to be up at 5 a.m. I mean, even if I was on a routine for 18 years of my life to be up at 5 a.m. and I still just couldn't get into it.
What time were you going to bed?
My sister would wake
We
up
go
at
to
noon
bed
every
early
day
now.
her whole life.
I don't
Now
do
that
noon.
she has kids, she's up at like 5 a.m.
And it's probably going to change when I have this child. But I'm not a noon sleeper. Like sleeping into me is like 8 a.m. is like a
8:39.
Sometimes. I mean, that's if I wake up and put myself back to sleep.
She's a sound machine on, like knockout pillow over the head type sleeper.
I'm creative at night.
Well, you know what?
I find my creativity.
I don't think that it's a night thing. I think that it's just your internal clock.
Maybe.
Which you have to reset.
Yeah.
I've
Literally.
tried.
I know, but you're not. When you do that, write down all the things that you do from the moment that you wake up and whatever that is, and then just shift the time. It's going to suck for the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's going to absolutely suck. But when you start to get the same productivity that you are getting when you are in your current sleep rhythm, it will just literally just change because it's not a matter of like the moon, and maybe it is for you. I don't know. The solar, like
It's a circadian clock thing, though. The sun rises, you should be
lunar.
I'll try
lunar
it.
energy or whatever. Like, I'm saying, like, there's some people that have that. And believe
I'll try it.
The moon gives me energy. Like, okay, great. The moon gives you energy. Like, so does the sun. So it's literally that's your clock. And when you find yourself being productive, it doesn't matter what time you wake up, because that's going to be the time when you're productive.
Sure.
So you're saying, like, I'm most productive at night. Like, okay, well, that's because you are probably like to need a little bit of time to get going in the morning. And by waking up at like 8, it takes you 3 hours to get going. So then you really end up being productive at around noon. And then that's when you really start your day, and right?
I mean, I'll try to put myself to bed at 9 to 10, and I'm just in the bed wide awake.
Right.
I mean, just freaking counting sheep.
Right.
And solving the world's problems.
So there is this, you have to create the struggle of.
Then you got to force yourself to wake up at 4 a.m. the next
At
day.
4 a.m. and I'm going to try to stay up as long as I can. And then if you still go to bed at 10 o'clock, you'll wake up at 4 a.m. again. And you do it all over, and you keep that rhythm going. What's going to happen is, what's your body going to do? It needs sleep, but you have to wake up at 4 a.m. You just have to wake up at 4 a.m. And if you have no plan, it's going to fail, because you won't see any progress. If you have a plan and you map this out, this is what I'm going to do from 5 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, and this is how my day is going to start. I'm going to take most of what I do in noon, and I'm going to do that in the beginning of the day. And then my first call should go, well, I always talk to my people around noon. Like, that's when I call everybody. You can still call everybody at noon, but you'll have a whole day ahead of you that you've planned to make those phone calls. They'll probably be a little bit more productive. And then eventually your body will go, yo, we need to go to bed. And you'll start going to bed at 8 o'clock. You'll be waking up at 4 o'clock. You'll have a lot of productive time because nobody's really bothering you or waking up. The world isn't going. And it also kind of gives you like this sense of like empowerment.
It's true. That is true. We do feel like that.
That's
when we were in the van, we would wake up and say, oh my, we've gotten so much done.
Yeah. You're like,
We've
oh my
had-
God.
She wanted to murder me every day because we lived in the van for a year, and I would be up like 6 the latest, and she'd be like telling me to sleep in.
No,
I'm
we
like,
would
can't.
have a
I'm wide
plan the
awake.
night before.
I'm in the front of the van working or something, or she'll hear the door shut, and I went on a jog in a random city.
We would have a plan the night before. He's like, let's get up early. To me, early was like 7. To him, early was 4. And so you think you know your partner, live in a van.
Yeah.
And so we still had to discover things about each other.
She was pissed that day. I
I'd
was
be
like,
like-
I said, let's get up early. She's like, it's 5. It was like
So we
5.
had to have a
She's like, "It's 5
conversation.
a.m." I was like, that's early.
We had a whole conversation. Like, we had a different idea of what early was. Early to David is early. Early to me is probably
7.
normal work hours for
Right,
people. So
right.
we had to establish that. And so there would be moments where the night before, what time are we waking up? Don't talk to me. Don't even look at me before this time. And he'd be up an hour before the alarm clock, just looking. I'm like,
staring at
I'm
us.
going to kill you. Yeah.
Well, how many times we have family in town or friends, and you guys all get up, and I'm already like, or I'll be coming home from somewhere, or I'm like, I've been up for 3 hours. And like you said, there's like an empowerment, a zen.
It's
You're
true.
like, you get the stuff done, you
Yeah.
feel relaxed. When meanwhile, you used to get mad where you're like, I don't have time to do this before we have to run to breakfast with your family. I'm like, you should have got up 3 hours ago if you really care.
We've learned in our marriage to establish, like, what time are we leaving? Because then I can work backwards on my schedule. Like this morning, we're leaving at 10. Well,
No, we're leaving at 9:30.
in my mind, we had to be here at 10:30.
So you were like, we have some more time still.
Yeah, so I gave myself
This
an
morning
hour
we
and a
had that.
half. My alarm was set. I
I
was
said, how
up
long do you
early.
need? 30 minutes. I'm like, you're already showered. How do you need 30 minutes?
I just, if you, and also
Gotta
if
put
you
my white
give,
face on.
That's what she did. She came back. She's like, I'm
We're
ready.
invested. We're invested.
he's like,
White face works.
That's right.
if you give me a time, I'm going to use every minute
Right.
until the like I will be out the door at that time, but I'm going to use every minute of that.
I'll take an extra 5 minutes.
Do you?
Oh, yeah. I'm terrible with that.
fine.
That's one thing I've got to really work on is like I could time block certain things, but it's like that's my 2025 is going to be like
5 minutes early.
time. Like be mindful of time instead of like, oh, I'll get it done. Like I'll get all of it done, but like, yeah, like right now I've got a doctor's appointment at like 1:10.
Yeah, I'll say I got 1:30.
Yeah.
Either way,
Road is so
Well,
let's wrap this thing
Well,
up
I do.
right now.
We are going to do
because we have
another
go.
one.
Yeah, we'll
and
definitely.
I want to hear about like what's going on in the future because I know you have a lot of stuff. So there's stuff I want to talk about that's going to help the real estate industry and people in general. So I want to cover that, and we want to talk about that, and I have other stuff.
So, Paul,
Yes, sir.
lead us out. Talk about if people are in the market of real estate or anything else that want to reach out or be a part of what you got going on. How do they do that?
Yeah. So if you're in not only just real estate, but just, you want to be inspired by what somebody does, right? I, as a leader, if you will, I'm more of a model, right? I'm going to lead myself first before I have the right to lead others. So I model what I do, and you can see all that stuff on Instagram. And then obviously if you're wanting to buy and or sell real estate in the area in Destin, Florida, that's where I'm at, and all of the surrounding areas, we just take care of our people. And you can find me on Instagram at Paul Domenech, just my name. It's that simple. And yeah, I'm your guy for sure.
Buying, selling house.
Buying, selling, everything I take personal.
Yep.
It's business, but I take it personal. And that's really, truly the difference in what matters. So
It's Polly.com.
it's Pauly.com.
Reach out to Polly. Not just that, but I mean, I know new real estate agents can kind of be mentored through you and some other guys in coaching. So make sure if you guys are in the market at all, reach out to Paul.
Absolutely. Especially you new agents. I've got some really great stuff. We'll discuss that on the next podcast.
I know. I'm so excited to talk
All
about
right,
it.
guys.
Thank you for your time.
Deuces.
See y'all.